I do not recommend that you buy Way of the Hunter as it currently is. I'm going to tell you what's going on with the game and what I recommend you do if you really are interested in this game. So let's talk about some minor things and then we'll get to some of the more major issues. Right off the bat, some of the texture will render in and out while you're moving around the game, whether you're driving or even just walking around. This doesn't break the game, but it does break immersion and you will notice it. So let's get to something that's starting to get a little bit more serious. FPS in this game for me will drop, and it drops somewhat frequently. I notice this when I'm in the forest and there's a lot of undergrowth. I notice this when I'm driving around the map. It's not so much frame rate drop that it makes the game unbearable to play, but it is enough that if you are streaming, people that are watching you are going to notice it and they might mention it. The next issue I know I've experienced, and I know some other people have, purchased items in game as well as purchased items when it came to the Hunter's Pack. People are talking about the 308 in particular, buying that in the game, buying that rifle because it's a very popular rifle and caliber for this game for deer hunting. After they buy it and they leave the game, when they come back into it, it acts as though they never bought it to begin with. Buying items and then those items either going missing or just not acting like you've purchased them seems to be a common error that is happening. And if that isn't heartbreaking enough, I've also experienced that the Hunter's Pack, the elite edition of this game, where you get a nice shotgun, you get 2 weeks game pass, as well as the camo finish on the Jeep, have just completely disappeared for me. I don't have the shotgun anymore. I don't have the option for the Jeep anymore. And sadly, these are things that I paid for when I bought the elite edition of the game. Speaking of disappearing, blood trails seem to be disappearing still. They're happening before the patch, they're still happening after the patch, and animals that you've killed in the game sometimes will disappear. I've only had this happen once, and thankfully it was to a cow moose, so it wasn't super important. But some people have had this happen on their 5-star animals, and that just sucks to hear because that really takes the fun out of the game. You work so hard to get a 5-star animal and suddenly they just disappear after you make a critical shot. To add confusion with everything also, when it comes to killing animals, the age system seems to be having major problems. It will label a clearly mature animal as a youth, meaning that you don't know whether or not you should shoot it or not, and it really can screw up you trying to control your herd and the genetics. And finally, the #1 problem in this game right now is the fatal crash error. This error pops up and it just crashes the game. Now, some people are having this happen 45 minutes, an hour every time they're playing it. Some people are having this happen every 5 minutes, which makes this game completely impossible to play for them. I have had this happen to me, and I think I might have found a way to get around it and fix it. If I can confirm that this is a legit way to fix it, I will make a separate video on that so I can show all of you to hopefully help you out if you are having this problem. So yeah, that's what's going on currently with the current state of the game. I know this dev team is working very hard to try to help people and get these issues resolved. And I noticed that they even started a beta version of the game so they can collect more information and make sure that they can fix problems. And personally, as someone that made a fairly positive review on my first impression of the game when I was 4 hours into it, and now I'm 30 hours into it, I wanted to make sure I could be honest with you guys and give you guys a real update. To me, it's not fair to make glowing reviews of a game and then also highlight the game on your channel just to have it break and then not mention it. To me, it's just not being honest with your viewers. I've noticed that some people have, some of the larger channels have, and I really applaud them for doing that. So would I recommend you buying this right now? Certainly not. Would I recommend you buying the game eventually? Absolutely, because when the game's playing well, and I just played it last night for 3.5 hours on stream, it's awesome. It's a great time. I can overlook texture defects, I can overlook little sound defects, I can overlook even little FPS drops. That's not going to kill the game for me. But the other issues I talked about, that right there can be incredibly frustrating. So I really hope the dev team gets this fixed, and I do think they will. And when they do, I will make a follow-up video making sure that you guys know what's going on. So with that said, as always, shoot straight and knock something down.